Partnered by Times Influence.
A gala event to empower telecom professionals with the right knowledge, skills and business insights about 5G technology and its disruptive impact.
A very warm welcome to the ET Telecom 5G Congress.
The second edition of ET Telecom 5G Congress was recently held in the national capital to bring together industry stalwarts, policymakers, analysts and telco leaders to discuss the road ahead in 5G technology. The two-day event saw a stellar lineup of speakers who presented their views on the issues and opportunities related to the applications of 5G, high-speed digital services, and how such a technology could usher the country into a new India by 2022.
If you look at what's happened in the last 3 years in the industry, we've seen on our networks a 15-fold increase in data payloads and data throughputs. We've seen massive investments in the industry, billions of dollars over the last few years. We've seen consumption go from 1 GB per month to 9 GB per month. It's been a staggering change in a very, very compressed period of time. Today, standing here, I would hazard a guess that if you look out 5 years out, I think we're likely to see close to 1 billion smartphones. We're likely to see more than 1 billion IoT connections, and in some ways, beginning to see how India will change in unimaginable ways. And I think the game changer for this will definitely be 5G. So what do we need to make 5G happen? I think I would like to call out 2 very strategic issues that we need to address. One is a really visionary public-private partnership, a really visionary partnership between industry and the government. And the second, which is to create an innovation ecosystem which is cross-industry, because no one industry can do this. 5G is going to impact several industries at the same time. And I think this is the opportunity for us, using the forum of the 5G Congress by ET, to actually kick off both those things.
I'd like to now please invite on stage the CEO of Vodafone Idea Limited, incidentally now India's largest telecom operator, Balesh Sharma.
The 5G is not going to be a revolution. It is going to be an evolution. It is not going to be an overlay technology, but a tandem technology. It's technology of technologies as we know, which means it's going to make multiple technologies and multiple kinds of interconnects happen. 4G and Wi-Fi networks that we are creating today are the foundation for 5G to happen. It's going to interconnect device to device, it's going to create meshes, but for all that to happen, we need to get all the building blocks in place, and we are doing that. We should spend the coming years in really identifying India use cases, creating pilots, creating laboratories, creating proofs of concepts, getting ready to hit the ground running when 5G really happens. 2, since 5G is evolution and not revolution, doing all that can be done while 5G itself is not per se on in the country yet, which is enabling all the 5G building blocks on 4G itself, enabling most of the use cases. So you talk of network slicing, I don't need to wait for 5G. You talk of network slicing for giving away for gaming, I could do network slicing for giving away for managing the law enforcement in a Kumbh Mela today through 4G. We need to work towards finding all these, test those use cases out on the technology that exists, on the capacity that exists, on the infra and the equip that exists already on ground, rather than waiting for it. Put that to use. We need to restore the financial health of this sector. There is no 5G in reality if the sector struggles to be able to even find a case for rolling out or completing the 4G. Thank you so much for being there for all these many years and counting upon you for the coming years.
Please join me in welcoming the Honourable Minister of State for Communications and our chief guest this morning, Shri Manoj Sinha.
Leading lights from the industry, friends from media, ladies and gentlemen. 5G, as we all know, is a topic of immense relevance to India today. The government intends to play an actively enabling and facilitating role in the fostering the development of a robust 5G ecosystem in the country. Our objective is to position India as a globally synchronized participant in the exploration, design, development, and manufacture of 5G-based technologies, products, and applications. A high-level forum for 5G India 2020 was set up by the government in September 2017 under the chairmanship of Professor A.J. Paul Raj, Professor at Stanford University. The high-level forum has identified 3 key priority areas for us. 1. Deployment, rolling out early, efficient, and pervasive 5G network to maximize the value offered by this new technology. 2. Technology, building India's industrial and research and development capacity in the design and IP dimensions of 5G. And 3rd, manufacturing, expanding the manufacturing base in 5G for both semiconductor fabrication as well as assembly and test plants. These recommendations are currently under deliberation within the government. In this context, I would also like to point out that our draft National Digital Communication Policy 2018 complements the work being done by the government in the area of 5G technology. While on the one hand, it seeks to harness the power of this transformative technology through missions such as providing universal high-speed broadband coverage, on the other hand, it also focuses on the creation of IPRs which will feed into the establishment of a thriving ecosystem for 5G. Friends, I strongly believe that the leveraging of 5G technologies will unleash new economic opportunities and societal benefits for the people of our vast and magnificent country to propel India to becoming a global economic powerhouse. As I never tire of repeating, as a country, we may have missed the 3G and 4G buses, but 5G is a bus we just cannot afford to miss. I seek the cooperation of everyone present in this august gathering today and of your colleagues, friends, academicians, vendors, partners, and associates in this exciting journey. Thank you. Jai Hind.
After the keynote address by the Honourable Minister, an invigorating fireside chat delved further into the future of 5G.
How do we become the Ridwale for the world, riding on 5G? How do we encash the opportunity it opens up to do all the robotic surgeries we talk about? यहाँ बैठ के हम दूर दराज के इलाकों की कर सकते हैं, वो तो एक समस्या का हल हुआ, और अपॉर्चुनिटी ये हुई कि हम यहाँ बैठ के affluent nations में जहाँ की बहुत महंगा है, वहाँ की सर्जरी यहाँ बैठ के करें and bring all that into India. That's the opportunity.
दूसरा ये है कि देखिए वर्ल्ड क्लास इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर अगर देश में चाहे पोर्ट हो, हाईवे हो, रेलवे हो का नहीं बनेगा तो इकोनॉमी जैसा हम चाहते हैं वैसी नहीं बना सकते। तो वैसे ही मुझे लगता है कि 5G की पावर को हार्नेस करना भी आज के समय की और ख़ास तौर से आधुनिक समय की एकदम आवश्यकता है, और उसमें अगर हम पीछे रहे तो मैं समझता हूं कि शायद इतिहास माफ़ नहीं करेगा देश को।
The next address at the ET Telecom 5G Congress was by the chairman of TRI, R.S. Sharma, and the Secretary of Department of Telecommunications, Aruna Sundararajan, who spoke about some of the efforts spearheaded by the government to make India 5G ready.
As all of you know by now, 5G is not yet another G. It actually signals a much larger shift, a paradigm shift. And India will embrace this technology at the earliest, and that the government on its part will leave no stone unturned to ensure that the requisite infrastructure for this is put in place, that the enabling environment in terms of policies and regulation will be put in place, and that the ease of doing business, which is also a key part of this, will be tweaked to ensure that we are able to get all the global majors in this area to start working with Indian industry and the Indian telecom service providers. And therefore, we look forward to a period of active engagement with all the stakeholders to make sure that India does indeed leverage the potential of 5G for inclusive growth in the country, but also for expanding the entire digital ecosystem, and through that making next generation services available to the people. So once again, let me thank ET for hosting this, and thank you for giving me this privilege of interacting with you this morning.
Please join me in welcoming to the dais the Chairman of the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, Shri R.S. Sharma.
You know, I was a couple of days back in an ITU conference, and somebody made a statement that we are living in exciting times because technology is moving at an extremely fast pace. And many other things, you know, how technology is so beautiful, so brave, and so fast moving. The only thing which I said was that this is fine, and the technology moving at a fast pace is a wonderful thing. But unless technology is able to be deployed for the benefit of mankind, it is really useless. So the whole issue is that there are newer and newer breeds of technology, and these are really very, very exciting times. But we have also realized that India is quite unique in many ways. While, for example, in 5G, one of the oft-quoted application is driverless cars. The question is whether really this is what is useful for our country or not. In my view, it is not. And therefore, but nevertheless, it doesn't mean that we can't use it. In fact, there'll be many, many more innovative areas in which we can use this technology. So that's one part which I think, and this is therefore very, very timely, and I must compliment all of you for organizing this wonderful conference. Thank you very much.
Giving a global viewpoint and the impact of 5G in India, renowned international names like Mary Hogan of Ericsson, who spoke about enabling 5G for India, and Jim Cathy, President APAC and India Qualcomm, who presented a broader perspective on leading the world to 5G.
As it deals with Qualcomm, I'm going to go back and give you just a little bit of history. How many people in this room think that Qualcomm is a chipset company? Just by a raise of hand. Qualcomm, chipset company, right? All right? Okay. For those of you who did not raise your hand, you were correct not to raise your hand. Qualcomm actually is an R&D company. For 30 years, Qualcomm has spent the majority of its time developing core technologies. Over $53 billion was invested in Qualcomm through R&D activities. So Qualcomm, over those 30 years, was there at the beginning when we shifted from analog to digital. And then when we added computation to your handset, a smartphone, for example, and then also transferring industries, virtually connecting everything to the wireless edge. And over those 30 years, all that development brings us to 5G.
Enabling 5G for India need to address the ever-growing data increase that the networks are pushing. We need to build out 4G to handle that capacity demand, and we need to make that equipment 5G ready and work on those 5G use cases and 5G business opportunities for enabling 5G for the India of the future.
On the topic, India's 5G roadmap a reality, some of the best minds from the industry expressed their views and concerns in the first panel discussion of the day.
My personal take is that it is the right time for India to be getting into 5G, and it will put India as on the world map from 5G perspective.
The next panel discussion explored the possibilities of how cross-industry applications can present great revenue opportunities for telcos.
IoT will bring a lot of 5G with IoT will bring a lot of opportunity in the area of smart cities.
The next panel had some of the key voices from the government and the industry discussing and deliberating on the 5G network infrastructure readiness in India.
I'd love to hear the panelists' views on various topics and issues related to 5G readiness in India.
All of us, both on the industry and outwards, are looking at our crystal balls, and they're extremely fuzzy at this moment. And so we're all taking wild guesses as to what this thing is looking at. So I think this is where industrial policy from the government is particularly important in terms of saying, if India is going to take the lead in terms of establishing its position as one of the leaders in 5G, then the readiness to get there is important. That's why the high-level forum that was established by the DoT was very, very important. And I think out of that emerged 5 areas. We've highlighted health, we've highlighted traffic management, waste management, education, as some of the areas, the 5 areas or so, that we should be looking at particular use cases that are going to drive development.
Most of us have already seen what the new digital communication policy, which is the draft available to all of us, is already expressing. If you look at, there is something very important thing in the draft NDCP, what we can see is that, especially there is a lot of focus about creating network, which is available for the next generation services, call it 5G and others. And other most important thing is that there is something called existential framework. Like for example, when we say about, apart from creating in a general terms that we'll be creating network for 5G, etc., it says that India wants to be in the top 50 of the ITU ICT Development Index, which is actually putting us on, on a race, I should say, that we should complete all the necessary requirements.
There are 2 categories of use cases. The first category is the bread and butter use cases, which include high-speed data connectivity, without which no other value-added service can ride on top of it. And then you have the use cases like industrial IoT and smart cities, which contribute to nation building. So these are the most important use cases that we should target first. And then there is a third use case, which would also help in the ecosystem development of chipsets and also the devices, which is not very much spoken about, but is getting quietly standardized. That is voice over 5G. It is like having salt in food. It has become a commodity, at least in the Indian market, post the launch of services by Jio. But without providing voice and data services, we will not be able to create economies of scale.
We don't have to wait for 5G to embark on use cases. Okay. In a sense, suppose you look at agriculture, okay, and that happens to be a use case, or you look at healthcare. We can start enabling that right now. What my concern has been that we talk a lot about use cases, but we are not activating it.
So then moving on, and if I may start with you from a government's perspective, Mr. Gupta, just your thoughts on when 5G would commercially launch in India.
So if we are really looking for the 5G, there will be 2 primary services which will be launched. Number 1 is enhanced high-speed broadband, which includes a part of fixed mobile access as well, which will be there. The reason being is that for that thing to be launched, what we require is the spectrum. We have already recommended price for the spectrum, and auction, etc., can happen in the well-defined time frame. Second thing, what is required is the fiberizations, because unless we connect our backhaul with the fiber, we will not be able to provide the services which we commit to provide under the 5G backhaul. There is a very strong need to have an ecosystem development where all the people can come up, tell what their problems are, how their problems can be resolved, and we collectively, not only the industry, but also the government, has to work together to streamline the functioning and rollout. Unless that is done, I'm afraid that this will not be implemented very fast.
There are some elements of 5G which we are already building in. Most of the telcos are already building in. Vodafone globally has been a leader in this space, whether it be doing the trials on 5G or whether it be going for the next generation IoT use cases. Vodafone has been a leader globally. Now, the key question before us is, before we can make the investment of 5G viable, there are a set of prerequisites that needs to happen. Right? For the 5G ecosystem to come, and large number of startups should come into the space. To connect them, we need to open up API gateways. We need to have cloud-native alignment on what the cloud-native architecture would be. How will we move to the containers kind of a model? If it comes to programmable IP, we need to have alignment on the Yang models and how will we build them. And then, and only then will programmable IP see the light of the day. Now, if we do all of this, then and only then the investments in 5G will start making sense.
From a HP perspective, we believe that today the world is hybrid, and if you see in the journey of cloud, we had a journey towards the cloud, and probably coming back to the data center, some of it at least. And again, we believe that the data will move and grow towards the edge. So we believe the world is going to be hybrid. And again, there's no revolution, it's an evolution. We have different terminologies, advanced 4G, real 5G. But I think from my perspective, we need to have quality of service in 4G and 5G as well. I think today probably that's an area probably the operators can focus on.
The partner sessions opened the horizon to an array of conversations around the 5G roadmap for the next wireless revolution to be witnessed by India.
It is very important for all of us in this room, including we from, for example, HP Enterprise or for that matter, telecom operators and also the enterprises at large who will become beneficiaries of 5G, to make sure we succeed together. It is very interesting time for us, especially as IT-centric practices and IT-centric technology can actually be applied to network functions, and how 5G actually can be really procured, operated, and then finally monetized as new use cases come in through a journey that is more an evolution rather than a revolution.
In order to fund 5G, we need to keep the lights on. For operators to keep the lights on, they better make our users to at least stick to that 9 to 10 gigabytes per month range.
We believe that a tremendous amount of network has to and will be built out over the next 3 to 5 years. Fundamentally, we believe that fiber will play a critical role in making that happen. And we really look forward to partnering with all of you in this forum at this event, along with the government, to make this rollout happen.
Surely India doesn't want to miss the 5G bus and is working towards ways and means that will change the landscape with newer services. And the ET Telecom 5G Congress is a stepping stone in that direction.
Partnered by Times Influence.